In my last video with the same title, I told you guys how my husband and I were able to pay off 2 cars, 1 credit card, 1 student loan, and a partridge in a pear tree, all in less than a year, while only making between $60,000 to $65,000 between the 2 of us before taxes. So in reality, we were only living off 1 income to pull this off. So in this video, I want to talk more about, even though we were living pretty frugally, we were still able to enjoy life while tackling so much debt. So if you're a returning subby, welcome back, boo. And if you're new here, hi, hello, grab a seat, have some tea. First things first, the debt snowball effect is super important when you are embarking on a debt-free journey. So essentially, it's when you start tackling your lowest cost debt first, and then working your way up to the largest debts. Besides this being a mathematically smart way to start tackling your debt while improving your credit at the same time, it also helps with your mentality. When you start seeing your credit cards and other small debt being eliminated, this can really help to boost your morale. It's like with each payoff, you feel a sense of accomplishment. But let's say you don't have any small debts, and most of your debt is large, like a student loan or a mortgage or a car note. Well, you can still use this snowball strategy by breaking up your total debt into smaller milestones. Like say your student loan is $75,000 and that's your only debt, but you only make $35,000 a year. You're probably like a recent grad. So you know it's gonna take you longer than a year or maybe even 2 years to pay it off. But what you can do is you can split that $75K into 4 smaller sums of $18,750. Or you could even split it even further to have some more wiggle room and enjoy life a little bit more, save some more money. But essentially that's just 4 payments of $18,750. So with each $18,750 milestone, you reward yourself with something fun. Something that you enjoy doing or something that you can buy for yourself as long as you don't set yourself back, okay? At this point in time, you should probably be saving some money and be using some of that savings to do that, to reward yourself. So when my husband and I paid off my first student loan and the credit card, we took a trip to Jamaica. Now I will say that even though we were paying off debt, we were still saving a substantial amount of money in the background. Now, of course, that is a big reward, but we were extremely frugal for like the prior 2 years and didn't go anywhere. So this vacation was really needed. But even besides these larger rewards, you can still budget for fun activities throughout the month. So I talked about this in my last video that we each have a monthly budget to use on whatever extra things that we want to do, you know, fun activities, hanging out with friends. For me, I use mine for lunch, okay? But this was a monthly budget that we each had to stick to. And I really recommend doing this even if you have a tiny budget. Like let's say after you do your numbers and you see how much money you have left over after paying bills and expenses and whatnot, and you only have about like $60 miscellaneous funds for the month, then use that $60 throughout the month and just spread it out however you can. But no matter how small your fund budget is, it needs to exist because you can't stay on a debt payoff journey if you're not having fun here and there and enjoying life. Because eventually you're gonna get so tired of not having money and not doing anything that you're gonna start talking yourself out of staying on this journey, okay? Something I wanna mention too is one of the main reasons why a lot of people forego their debt-free journey and paying off their debt faster is because of social pressures. The pressure to hang out with your friends, to go places, to buy things, to go to expensive restaurants or just go to restaurants, period. You know, we live in a consumerist society. So when we're talking about being more strict with your budget and not spending as much money, it's hard for people because we look on social media and we see everybody flexing and everybody going on vacations and everybody enjoying life, and we feel kind of left out. And also, you know, everybody knows that, you know, paying off debt requires sacrifice. I don't think I have to say that. I think it's pretty obvious. But you don't have to, it doesn't have to be so terrible. Like, it doesn't have to be so boring. You don't have to like sacrifice everything out of life. There's some things that either you can take away that you don't really need, that you can live without, or you can sort of, modify the way that you spend your money. Like maybe you're used to going out, you know, to a particular bar every week and it costs you, an average of maybe $40 every time you go. Well, maybe don't go every weekend. Maybe go once a month, or maybe you go and shop all the time. Maybe go shopping once a month and you buy at least like $100 worth of clothes. Don't do that. Like, Or if you have to go shopping, then just spend $50 worth of clothes. You know, there's all sorts of ways that you can modify your lifestyle to where that you feel that you're still living and you're not, like, life is not passing you by and you can still have a good time and enjoy those things that you like, but you're still being more strict with your budget, with your money, paying attention to those things that really matter as far as getting rid of your debt. That's the most important thing, and just having that in your mind, but still giving yourself a little treat here and there. That way you can have a balance. You know, I think that's the most important thing, is a balance. Another thing is, which I'm going to make a separate video about at some point, is you need to know your numbers. If you don't have a household income and expenses spreadsheet detailing every single expense that you use, that you have between you and your spouse, or if you're single, between just yourself, all the money that you bring in and all the money that goes out, you need to do this like now, immediately, like I'm talking about right this second. I'll wait, because doing this helped us stay on top of our finances, and it made it to where the whole debt payoff thing didn't look so scary and so intimidating, because you're literally just looking at your numbers every month and updating them accordingly, and you're seeing your debt get lower and lower each month. It's also important to be able to budget for fun things and to be able to stick to that budget, but you aren't going to know how to do that unless you know your numbers and you keep it tracked on a spreadsheet. So again, I'm going to create a separate video just about that, and I might even share with you guys our household expenses spreadsheet so you can see how we figure the numbers, tally them out, and how we keep track of our debt to income ratio using that spreadsheet. Okay, so be looking out for that in the future. Okay, so back to what we did in order to pay this debt off. So when we would pay off debt, when we were working on a particular debt for that period of time, we would pay it off in one fell swoop, in one lump sum, instead of paying additional money on it each month. It was kind of fun doing it this way too, because the loan companies would always be shocked when we would call them and be like, "Hi, yes, I'd like to pay off my car, please."
You mean your monthly payment?
No, I mean the whole thing. So like, for instance, for like our student loan, let's say the total debt was $5,000 and our monthly payment was $65. So we normally wouldn't pay more than $65 a month on it. Instead, we were saving money in the background. And then let's say when we saved up about, let's say $4,200, we would call the collections agency and offer to close our account for a lump sum of $4,200, okay, which is less than the money that was really owed, right? But just a little bit less. This isn't really exactly how it happened. This is just an example of how you can do it, and you know, the way that you can actually save in the background and just pay a lump sum and actually end up paying less than what you actually owe on it just to get the account closed. That's if it's in collections. I don't know how it would work if it was just with the loan company, the original loan company. It could work for them too. I mean, it doesn't hurt to try and negotiate, but that's a good way of kind of like skirting over extra interest payments that you may have over the next few months. You know what I'm saying? So definitely save money in the background to have more control over that. This helps to keep control of your finances, because if you cannot afford to put down extra money each month on whatever debt that you have without overextending yourself or not being able to save additional money for an emergency fund, then it's best to save that money in the background, okay? And not add additional money to that loan each month. That payment, that the extra money that you would put on that payment each month, save that in the background, okay, in your own savings account. That way you have a cushion just in case something happens and you need that extra money. As long as you're current with your debts and you're making consistent payments, it does not matter if you put down extra money on it per month, because eventually you will still have saved up enough money in the background to pay it off eventually in one lump sum. That way you don't feel like all of your money is going to bills and expenses and you don't have any extra money just in case something like happens that's out of your control. Even though the majority of your savings will eventually go to debt, the time between the payoff and currently, you don't want to feel like you're too tight and you don't have any extra money or wiggle room for life things that may happen that you may not be able to plan for, because things happen. Your car could break down tomorrow. But if you were like paying $100 extra on your credit card each month, leaving you only like a small amount of miscellaneous cash, then you're in trouble. That extra $100 could have just went into your savings, and then when your car broke down, you could have just used that to help you pay for the car. You see what I mean? Because life happens, and you just can't look at your debt payoff as more important than saving for emergencies in the background. if you don't have the extra cash, if you're on a low income. You just really have to be realistic with how you approach it. Again, it's all about knowing your numbers, knowing what you have to work with, okay? Life is meant to be lived, and you can still live a fulfilling life while paying off enormous amounts of debt, you know, even on a low income, even on a low income. So what I would suggest is looking at your household expenses, seeing how much money you have left over, how much money that you can actually save. Some people will give you like a percentage and they'll say save 10% of this or 10% of that or 5% of this, but I can't tell you that because I don't know how much money you have to bring in. Because after you pay off your debts, after you pay off your expenses, after you pay off your bills, including the debt payments that you have, whatever amount of money you have left over, it may not be much, but if you can somehow rearrange your life, lower the money that you have that you're paying for expenses like cable, internet, things that really they matter, they're important. Well, internet's important, cable's not really important. You could just cancel that. But decide to see how you can cut the amounts of money that you're spending on different expenses that you may not need. You know what I'm saying? Extra money that you don't need to really be spending, and save as much as you possibly can, and decide how much you're going to save every month and how much of that is going to go to the particular debt that you have planned to pay off. Because it's honestly just about seeing what you have left over after paying your bills and paying your expenses. If that amount of money is not enough to save a significant amount for potential debt payoff, a lump sum payoff, and simultaneously being able to live life, have fun, and have a good time, then you might consider adding an additional income, taking up a side hustle, something to bring in more money so that you can do that. Because you don't want to overextend yourself. You can only work with what you have. You don't want to be unrealistic, but it's possible even on a low income to pay off debt fast. But you have to think about how much your debt to income ratio is, how much money in debt we're talking about, and how long it would take, depending on how much your income you're bringing in, to pay off that debt. And if it will take too long, then consider taking up a side hustle. Like I always say, if you want to tackle debt and you want to really tackle it as fast as possible, bringing in extra income is always the best idea, always the best thing to do. And there's so many different ways you can do that, even while having a full-time job. I have a few videos about side hustles, about different businesses you can start from home during quarantine, even with a full-time job. So if you want to check those out, I'll leave the link to those in the description. And let me know in the comments how your debt payoff journey is going. If you got some value from this video, throw me a like. And if you want more content like this about personal finance and entrepreneurship, go ahead and subscribe. Hit that bell notification to be notified when I drop my latest video. Help your girl out. And until next time, friends. Bye.